Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in to my super chat. Thank you so much, especially in this time period. If you choose to support my voice, I thank you. I'm very appreciative. Thank you. This is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Why is intent important? The media, Democratic Party, liberals everywhere have said, well, gee, we had another country try to interfere in our election. They never explain how. They never say another country informed us that the Democratic Party was corrupt and cheating its own candidate. Oh my God. What they say is, we were under some kind of infiltration by another hostile foreign actor. We had to do something. This was national security. It wasn't national security, number one. The RNC, if the RNC was allegedly hacked by Russia or China or any other country, you better believe they wouldn't care, just like they didn't care when Biden was accused of horrendous things and the person actually filed a criminal complaint. Nobody has ever filed a criminal complaint over the targeting the president regarding those allegations or his Supreme Court justice, his Supreme Court nominee. No criminal complaint for them. Biden criminal complaint to D.C. police. Of course, when it's the Democratic Party, it's don't believe, you better eviscerate the claim. If it's Trump or anyone else, it's you better believe. Okay, so the duplicity is there. If the RNC was allegedly hacked by Russia, and the ODNI and DHS reports were only moderately confident, which they're only moderately to highly confident with this entire narrative, they would have said, well, you know what, that's the RNC's problem, that's not national security. Why would the Republican Party be national security? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. They tried to make, okay, we can just go on forever. The point is this. Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them are hiding. Hidden for time, thank you. Eric H526, hello. Luke St. Martin, hello. They're hiding, ladies and gentlemen, under the notion that we had to investigate President Trump because we were in such disarray, and it was such a chaotic moment in American history, where the national security was at stake. We had to investigate President Trump. We had no choice. We had to look at Comey's memos. We had to look at our hands were tied behind our backs regarding the Steele dossier. Don't you understand? Don't you understand? We had to do this. This is national security. It was never national security. It's not a national security issue when a private entity, which is what the DNC lawyers stated it was, a private entity who could, if they chose to, pick their nominee in smoke-filled back rooms. Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee. Everything that's taken place thus far has vindicated my voice and proved me right. I will have made the biggest political call of all time. They ain't going with Biden. Whether you believe he's one fry short of a Happy Meal or he's embellishing and doing a vaudeville act, that's irrelevant. They are clamoring now for an alternative. It's too close to once this crisis is past us, ladies and gentlemen, once the crisis is past us, once we rebound as a country, and we will, and Democrats will then say it's President Obama's economy. Once we rebound as a country, Clinton is going to be nominee. They're going to say, and you know what? At first she'll say, no, I don't want to be president. Who knows what they'll make it so they have to beg Madam Secretary, and then she'll be nominee. And I will have been the only person on planet Earth, certainly the only person on YouTube, but the only person on planet Earth with a media platform to have told everyone what's actually taking place, the reality of it. But here, you cannot indict Comey or Strzok or McCabe or Clapper or Brennan without proving intent to deceive. This is the issue, ladies and gentlemen. John Durham has found intent. I'm going to read you a National Review article, and William Barr has also found intent. You don't even need to prove intent. The whole thing is so absurd. They used a dossier purchased by Clinton, a dossier that was nonsense, that nothing was verified. They say, well, some things were verified. So even if that were true, which it's not, you don't go with partially verified evidence or partially verified opposition research to begin a probe. They demand 100% categorical proof beyond a shadow of a doubt to make any claim against President Obama or Clinton, especially Clinton. With Trump, you can just have some kind of dossier that's, compiled together and paid for, and then we'll use that as raw intelligence. They did everything deliberately. They utilized the levers of government. They started sprawling, never-ending FBI probes. Then they had a special counsel where anyone connected to the president was called in, and if they forgot the timing of an email or if they deleted a Facebook post, it was obstruction of justice, and it was, oh my God, you lied to the FBI. Then they have these mugshots of people. It's like, oh my God, look at Trump's criminal rogues gallery. Meanwhile, they then impeached the president. Based on the absurd and hilarious notion that he was trying to investigate and interfere in the election because, God forbid, anyone should investigate Biden, who's corrupt beyond belief. You don't fire another country's prosecutor as Hunter Biden is on the board of directors of a corrupt energy company. You don't act in an unethical manner. It is unethical to force another country to fire anyone. Unless it's the most dire, unique circumstances. But Biden did this, and he bragged about it, and guess what? He was very lucid, and he communicated in a clear and concise manner about how he forced another country to fire their prosecutor. Kurt Leonard! When do Five Eyes have their mea culpa? Where is Mifsud? Well, they never will. The first answer is they'll never admit they're wrong. The second, they'll never admit they're wrong, just like they never really admitted. They'll never admit to the consequences. Kurt Leonard, thank you. They'll never admit, Kurt, to the consequences of their actions. They might say, well, maybe we were duped, but we tried so hard. The intent to undermine and utilize the United States government, I wrote about this in the Federalist. It's U.S. Code, 18 U.S. Code 371. When you utilize the United States government for purposes other than, protecting the people of the United States, or if you utilize government agencies other than their stated purpose for political purposes or for some kind of deceitful gain, then that is a crime. That's what they did. They utilized and turned the United States government against an incoming candidate because they didn't like his politics. That is a greater example of interfering in the election than a Facebook ad that, nobody swung their votes because of Facebook ads or Twitter bots. Most Americans are not even on Facebook or even Twitter. But here, and the ones that are most active are like 2% of Americans. 2 to 4% of Americans are most active on Twitter. They write like 80% of the tweets. Where's Mifsud? Mifsud, where is he? They swept him under the rug too, because there was something going on with him where he was not only lied to the FBI, but he was seen in D.C. in the Capitol building in 2017, and nobody cared. Okay? It's so easy to kind of, tear this whole thing apart. But I want to read you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read you this. And this is really interesting. Barr on Durham investigation. Evidence shows that we're not dealing with just mistakes or sloppiness. This is the National Review. If we're not dealing with mistakes or sloppiness, people will get indicted, and people committed crimes. You cannot accidentally and unintentionally utilize information that is not evidence, that is simply gossip and hearsay from Comey's memos, to CrowdStrike's assessment. CrowdStrike's assessment is worth nothing. It should never have been part of U.S. national security. They were outsourced by Democrats. If you had a firm called Trump Strike outsourced by Republicans, you better believe that all the smartest millennials at all these publications would be like, what? Oh my God. Like, why would we even trust Trump's preferred tech company? This is ridiculous. And yeah, Cheney and Rumsfeld and the entire apparatus there, they're deceitful. Well, yeah, and so that's true. Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, completely deceitful. Worst administration of all time. Got us into an era of never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts that really, really hurt the lives of millions upon millions of people. I mean, just decimated countries to the point where we're still experiencing the repercussions of Bush's decision-making and President Obama's decision-making to this day. But here, and President Trump is reversing U.S. foreign policy. That's why, like, when you hit these people, like, oh my God, how could you vote for Trump? Oh my God. Yeah, because we want to reverse U.S. foreign policy. The most important thing that should be the most important thing on everyone's political list. But here, U.S. Attorney General William Barr implied in an interview the other week that U.S. Attorney John Durham is prepared to prosecute former intelligence community officials if evidence shows they illegally surveilled the 2016 Trump campaign over allegations of collusion with Russia. Barr, who tasked Durham last May to review the origins of the Russia investigation, told Fox News' Laura Ingraham that the Connecticut U.S. Attorney is, quote, looking to bring justice to people who were engaged in abuses if he can show that there were criminal violations. The criminal violations rest upon intent. That's it. Intent. Jimbo, hello. The criminal violations rest upon intent. If the government says, gosh, we just didn't really mean to do it, we were trying our best. If they were trying their best, they can try to weasel out of it and slither out of it. But if they were, I don't know, maybe setting up and framing Trump, gee, maybe Comey is not the Boy Scout he says he is. I know it's very difficult to believe because he's such a good person. But maybe if we can prove that they deliberately tried to undermine Trump, then it falls right under U.S. Code 371. I wrote about this in the Federalist. You can read it. The article is going to be below in the pinned comment and the description of every one of my uploads and the pinned comment of every one of my live streams. That's the article I wrote. It's Comey and McCabe should be charged for conspiring to defraud the United States. If you conspire to defraud the United States and utilize government agencies against their stated purpose, you have committed a crime. You can't simply start investigating incoming presidents. You can't simply start investigating the president-elect of a different political party under the guise that it's national security. This is obvious to anyone with a quarter of a brain cell functioning. But again, this is going to be the most important election of our lifetime. I give Clinton a 25% chance of winning. Hillary Clinton could become president in 2020. Do you understand? She could be sworn in January of 2021. I mean, it's very possible they have their ability to deceive and to dupe the average American, even people on our side, even Trump supporters. Because most people are like, nah, Biden. How can you? But Biden's won the nomination. How could it possibly? Blah, blah, blah. Because people are already clamoring for an alternative, which is exactly what I've been saying. Anyway. My own view is that the evidence shows that we're not dealing with mistakes or sloppiness. There was something far more troubling here, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, Barr stated. And if people broke the law, and we can establish that with the evidence, they will be prosecuted. And if people broke the law, and and we can establish that with evidence, they will be prosecuted. End of story. Odinga Mobutu, I'm going to cap it at 30%. I haven't reached 30 yet. Odinga, thank you. Lyle Bud! Soon 7th graders could get into the White House 8 Club. Let's do this. Lock that. Lyle Bud, thank you. I think that President Trump would actually, I know that people say this is not true, I think that he would pardon Hillary Clinton. I swear to God. I think that eventually, when Clinton gets indicted, Trump's second term of, I don't know, U.S. Code 793F, deliberately utilizing a very reckless server open to the entire planet, running on Microsoft Exchange software simply to hide personal or, I don't know, maybe Clinton Foundation material, while simultaneously holding on to top secret and special access program intelligence. It is 100% a fact that Clinton had special access program intelligence on servers that were unclassified. That is highly, highly, highly illegal, with the intent to do so. I think the President Trump would actually pardon for a variety of reasons. But Lyle Bud, thank you for always watching. Lyle Bud, thank you. James Edwards, thank you. Very little is publicly known of Durham's work, which has since been upgraded to a criminal investigation, with House Judiciary Committee ranking member Jim Jordan saying last month that Durham's investigation is due to be complete sometime this summer. But the probe's scope goes beyond the DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz, who in recent months has detailed how the FBI abused the FISA process in its Crossfire Hurricane investigation of the 2016 Trump campaign. Durham's not just looking at the FBI. He's looking at other agencies and departments and also private actors. So it's a much broader investigation, Barr explained in December. Durham made headlines for issuing a rare statement saying that he did not agree with Horowitz's assertion that the FBI had authorized purpose for opening Crossfire Hurricane, while former FBI officials were quick to claim that the IG report had exonerated them of wrongdoing. First of all, the IG didn't even have all the evidence. Durham has a lot more evidence than the IG. The IG didn't even speak to William D. Campbell, who was the FBI informant regarding the Uranium One debacle, and the FBI didn't even, the IG didn't even speak to Brian Pagliano, the guy who set up Clinton's servers. He didn't speak to really anyone you had to speak to, but anyway. James Comey attributed the FISA abuses to sloppiness. Who in their right mind believes this? Horowitz later clarified that his office did not conclude the FBI was unaffected by political bias because of a lack of evidence to the contrary. Last week, Horowitz released an update of his ongoing audit into the FBI's transparency protocols, which showed that 29 FISA applications reviewed from 2014 to 2019 included, quote, apparent errors or inadequately supported facts. Let me tell you how. So far into fantasy world they're in. They literally said, well, since this FISA, the FISA errors were rampant, it wasn't personal with Trump. It was just that they always make mistakes. That's the whole point. The culture there is that they just utilize whatever they manipulate and deceive whenever they need to get FISA warrants. That's so obvious. But it's really funny when a liberal Democrat is hiding behind the sanctity of corrupt intelligence officials because the government says so, but they don't like the White House. So they pick and choose in their duplicitous manner and their disingenuous, proving their disingenuous nature when it comes to politics. Love The intelligence agencies don't like the White House very bad. Don't trust the president, but you do trust the IG report, which actually showed massive, massive political bias and a whole lot of corruption. But here, Durham has spoken to Italian and Australian officials over contacts between former Trump campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos, a Maltese academic, and alleged Russian asset Joseph Mifsud, who offered to connect Papadopoulos to Russians in possession of thousands of emails containing damaging information about then-candidate Hillary Clinton. Even if that were true, you can't start an investigation because somebody said something. You can't start an investigation because Alexander Downer, who's linked to the Clinton Foundation. If you live in Australia, Jimbo, you might know, and others, you might know who Alexander Downer is. How do you feel if you live in Australia to have tens of millions of dollars of Australian taxpayer money going to the Clinton Foundation? Let's just look at it right here. Alexander Downer. This is the guy who helped start the whole nonsense. Alexander Downer, Clinton Foundation. Let's see. 25 million. Okay, hold on a second. No. An apparent $100 million deception on Australian taxpayers. This is regarding the Clinton Foundation. Let's see. Donations. Australia was one of 4 governments to donate more than $25 million. I think it reached a lot more than that to the Clinton Foundation. Alexander Downer was a diplomat. So, let's see. That's right. It was closer to $80 million in total. Okay, $25 million donation. So, and he was involved. So this guy who, could you imagine if you had the Clinton Foundation received some $88 million from Australian taxpayer money? Okay. In total, between 2006. Okay, so the initial, I think Alexander Downer helped initially to arrange $25 million donations from Australia to the Clinton Foundation in 2006, and then it increased. So here's the man who is linked to the Clinton Foundation, and as you know, Bill and Hillary, if they'll go with the establishment, conservative establishment and liberal establishment differ on just a couple of major things. Other than that, in terms of foreign policy, in terms of bailouts, in terms of a whole lot of things, they will agree with one another. But this is the man that helped start a probe into President Trump. Alexander Downer linked to the Clinton Foundation. CrowdStrike paid by Democrats. Steele dossier purchased by Clinton. I wrote about this also in the Federalist, and Rush Limbaugh, God bless him, shared my article on his radio show. The corruption of the Democratic Party at this time period in American history, it's like unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Tina Bobina! I told you months ago that Dems were looking for a way to cheat. My biggest concern being in Broward County, and I wish he would pardon Stone already. Me too. I would love that. In fact, you know, he should start doing that right now. So then they say, "Oh my God." Maybe he's, who knows why he's not. But you know what? The Democrats might say, "Well, we're going to impeach you for pardoning." Who knows what they'll do? Who knows exactly why he isn't at this moment? But I do agree with you. Tina Bobina, thank you. Thank you, Tina Bobina. Thank you, Lyle Budd. Thank you. Thank you again, Lyle Budd. Thank you. Tina Bobina, thank you. So let's continue. Basically, the intent is there Look, there's a double standard. There's obviously a double standard, and the double standard is the following. Okay? The double standard is the following. If it's President Trump, all you need is a piece of paper with some kind of something negative on it saying that Trump did something bad, and that's all you need. That is all you need. There's a piece of paper that says Trump did something really, really mean and bad. We must never stop investigating ever, 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 ever. With Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, they need to find almost a handwritten note saying we're going to get Trump. Oh, that's right, they do have that. Peter Strzok said we'll stop Trump. They do have that. This is an arm wrestling match, ladies and gentlemen. It is an arm wrestling match. It is an arm wrestling match where you have Trump versus both the Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment. Okay? You have President Trump versus the entire American political establishment and Hollywood and the corrupt intelligence agencies. And at this point right now, President Trump is a very heroic figure in American history. And every day he's being vilified in a manner that, President Obama never was for drinking Flint water or funding a lab or obliterating a country with a failed NATO intervention. You have to, Tino Bobina and Lyle Budd and everybody here, and you have to, Odinga Mobutu, when I always ratchet up my the level, the chances, the odds that Hillary Clinton could win, I am not underestimating the capability of media and the Democratic Party to cheat and to fabricate something. Everybody, you have to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand something. I am trying to tell you, I'm the only person who is telling you this. And when it happens, when Clinton becomes nominee, and then you have people saying she's ahead of President Trump in the polls, remember I told you in in April, and all throughout, because I started thinking about it, and I said, there's no way Clinton could win. Then I said, wait a second, there is a way Clinton could. She could become president. She could become president easily. They're not going with Biden. They're not, whether it's a shtick and he's joking, or, it's a charade and he's pretending, or whether it's serious, immense cognitive decline, he's not going to be nominee. Free Assange. Democrats sacrifice voters' health for ego. Exactly. And then you know how they do it? They say, well, it was a democracy. It was for democracy. Oh, yeah, right. The Democratic primary is the antithesis of democracy. They cheated Bernie Sanders. But here, I will never forgive Bernie Sanders for not even acknowledging he was cheated. You could have simply said, they did cheat me, and that's not very nice for people who gave me money. But he didn't even do that. If you go to 2016, 2016 and 27, and 270 to win, you go to 2016 actual. Go to the actual map. You keep everything the same. You change Iowa. You change Wisconsin. You change Pennsylvania. And you change Maine. And you get, ladies and gentlemen, hold on one second. Maine's not. You get 269 to 269. And then you have the House of Representatives as the tiebreaker. All right? And then Clinton wins. You can go ahead and do it in your own time. 270 to win. Go to 2016 actual. change Iowa from red to blue, change Wisconsin from red to blue, change Pennsylvania from red to blue, and change Maine to just all blue. It's like 4 there, and Trump won 1 delegates. Now, House of Representatives, first of all, let me explain something to the 600 people almost watching here. I don't care if Biden is the nominee or if Biden goes on the ballot in 2020 in November. Do you want to know why I would be so happy to be wrong? I'm begging and praying to be wrong, because President Trump would not only win a monumental electoral college victory, he would also win the popular vote. There are not people who are going to get up. Independents can't stand Biden. And Biden at his best, because he could turn it on when he wants to, at his best is horrendous in a debate. Just because he beat Bernie Sanders doesn't mean he's good at debate. Bernie's a one-trick pony. Says the same thing all the time, and then you ask him to prove it or explain how it's going to pass Congress, and he freezes up. I hope I'm wrong about my prediction, because people say, "Oh, I'm never going to let you live it down." Please go ahead, bring it up, because when we're all partying in November, and it is the most important election of our lifetime, and President Trump easily defeats Biden in a landslide in the Electoral College, and also they don't even get the popular vote, that will be a mandate for President Trump. A huge signal to the corrupt intelligence people, all of those. And then Durham and Barr will have their political will, the capital they need. So believe me, I would love to be wrong about Clinton. The euphoria alone would be worth it. But I'm not going to be wrong about Clinton. If I know this, you don't think the Clinton campaign knows any of this? But here, they're not going with Biden. That would be the most absurd. The most absurd. People say, well, why would she run again? Because she runs the Democratic Party, okay? I'm trying to tell you. But here, if you look, tiebreaker, Electoral College tie. Who breaks the tie? Okay. If no candidate receives a majority of electoral votes, then the presidential election leaves the Electoral College process and moves to the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives elects the president. There you go. The House is controlled. They would break a tie. They would break a tie. Okay. I'm trying to tell you that could possibly be the case. That could possibly be the case. This is an existential issue for them, people. That's why they're so good at deception. Nobody sees what I see. I'm telling you. This is not just in 2015, I was quoted by NPR. I know you're going to say, oh, here we go again. I was quoted by NPR. They put me and 538. I'm not right about everything, but I've been right. I told you the Steele dossier was complete nonsense. I said that the impeachment would only help Trump and hurt Biden, which it did. I told you the entire Mueller probe was complete nonsense. They'd find nothing. Every step of the way, I said when President Trump let go of Michael Flynn, I said that was the wrong decision to make, and it was. It was one of the biggest mistakes of his presidency. I told you Democrats would implode. I told you that at the end of the day, something would happen, and I don't know what. I didn't know what, but now we know they're clamoring for an alternative to Biden. And I said that Clinton would find some way, and it would be plausible, and people would then just accept it because Democrats just simply break the will and the spirit and the esprit de corps of their voters. When they're not cheating their voters, they're telling them to vote in the rain, getting pelted by hail during a pandemic for democracy. They had a choice. They could have canceled the primary and lost politically, or told voters to risk their lives and win politically. And guess which one they picked? The latter. So, I'm trying to tell you. Madam Secretary could win. She has the money. She has the media. She has Hollywood. Don't underestimate the ability of Democrats and media and intelligence officials and Hollywood to converge and, utilize a situation to just unite and just get people to kind of almost, people think that Biden's going to be nominee. That's the most absurd thing of all time. I hope I'm wrong, actually. I really hope I'm wrong. People say, how could you? You're going to be wrong. I'm never going to let you down. Go ahead, bring it up. Believe me, you know what? For the people who ever want to bring it up, if Clinton's not nominee, I welcome it. We could laugh. We could just end up laughing together and saying, "Oh my God, that electoral college disaster with Democrats. Oh my God, they would lose." They would not even get the popular vote. And that's the only thing Democrats stand for. Oh, we got the popular vote. More people voted for us. You have President Trump. You have potentially more Supreme Court nominees. You have a reversal of U.S. foreign policy, which they don't want. You have Durham and Barr, which will come down. The hammer is going to come down hard when President Trump wins again. But they're not going to bring Biden in to save the day. They're going to try their best. This is the existential issue. John Black! Thanks, AJ. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, John. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much for watching. Be here in November. November. Thank you, John. Thank you very, very much. I'm telling you, House of Representatives, tiebreaker, electoral college. What happens if there's a tiebreaker in the Electoral College? The U.S. Constitution stipulates that the newly elected House of Representatives would take over the contest. So, assuming that they keep their majority, the Democrats would then say, well, okay, Clinton's the president now. If it's 269, congratulations. Then everyone's going to look back and say, gosh, you remember when we thought that Biden was going to be nominee? That's funny how that never happened. Yet another deceptive moment in history because Democrats pulled off, another brilliant charade. They're not even pledged. Go in the description, you can read. The 538 is a very good, they might not be great at projections. They projected Bernie Sanders was going to easily run away with it first they said Biden's going to easily run away with it. Then they said Bernie Sanders is going to easily run away with it. And now they say Biden's going to easily run away with it. Okay. Nowhere is anyone saying, look, the reality. Clinton has never stated, you know what she said? I'm not going to endorse anyone. I'm only going to endorse the person best suited to defeat Trump. She's referring to herself. This is how a very confident person communicates. Or you could say this is how a megalomaniacal person communicates. Whatever. So you're talking about this election is going to decide the future, the fate of the country. Democrats and media have had a meltdown, and they focused on everything that is not unimportant. It is not important if Russia bought Facebook ads. It does not affect anyone. It did not alter the votes of anyone. Okay, it's not important. If you want to go there, you could talk about Jill Stein taking more votes away than the margin of victory. You could talk about why Clinton didn't, why she was in Arizona a week before the a week before the election. You could talk about a million different reasons. In 2015, I said Clinton was unelectable. NPR quoted me. And she still is. But it doesn't matter. She could still pull it out. She could still become president. They know this. They know this. This is not an election. The only people voting for a candidate are Trump supporters. Democrats are voting against a candidate. This is a different thing. Tina Bobina, you didn't predict they would steal. That's true, but I predicted individual races in the Senate and in the House. I said that, what's his name? I said that Beto would lose, Stacey Abrams would lose. I said that Gillum would lose. They all lost. I said that the Senate would increase their majority. I'm not right about everything. But see, again, the House, that's not that big. I mean, I don't consider the House that big of a... There's one channel that made a huge deal about it. Like, oh my God, H.A. Goodman, he didn't predict the House. Like, so what? Generally, the president, the first midterm, they get demolished. I was going against the grain. I was wrong, but I was right about a much bigger issue, the election, and I'll be right about a much bigger issue this time around. So I was right about the Senate. There were people saying the Senate was going to go Democrat. So you can't be right about everything, but my track record is pretty good. Thanks, Tino Bobina. Hey, Jay, 2009. Come on, man. You know the thing. Joe. Biden may be faking, but Clinton, that's true. That is true. That is true. That's true, 100%. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, you can go and look. What have Democrats been right about? They focused for 3 years, only 3 years, on President Trump working with Russia. I told you he wasn't working with Russia. I told you it was nonsense. They couldn't find any evidence that he worked with Russia. I told you impeachment would be nonsense. They didn't impeach him on anything to do with a criminal act. Does anyone believe that Biden is going to be nominee? This will be the biggest political call of all time. If you get the House wrong, okay, fine. At least I got the 2016 election right, and I'll get this 2020 election right. Okay? And I got the Senate right, and I got individual races right in the midterms, but whatever. You can't be right about everything, but my track record is a lot better than all the prognosticators on the left, especially on the left. But anyway, the House of Representatives. Thank you, Tino Bobina. Maybe they did. Free Assange. What channel? Ultra. God bless you, Free Assange. No. I don't. The funny thing is, I've had channels try to troll me, and my audience is amazing because my audience just kicks them out, like doesn't let them troll. Sparky, thank you again, Free Assange. Thank you, Sparky. No damn how. Exactly, I think so also, but I think so also. Very bizarre. Like, let's put it this way: you had two. Honestly, I'm almost glad the House is run by Democrats. You get Paul Ryan out, you get establishment Republicans out, and then you get AOC in, which is fantastic. AOC, let's put it this way. There are people in Congress who are in the House of Representatives who are the best thing to happen to President Trump and anyone who can't stand the Democratic Party. So I'm very, very happy, in a way, that Democrats run the House. That just show what's the difference in a way. You had Paul Ryan, who gave tacit approval to Democrats and Comey for the Russia probe and special counsel. And every single time Jim Jordan or Matt Gaetz or John Ratcliffe, who's now the ODNI chief, that they're not trying to slow walk in, and every single time you had some kind of hearing that pretty much exposed what took place, conservatives within the House and within the Senate would just kind of sweep it under the rug. It's kind of a good thing in the long run. The Senate, you got to keep. I was right about that, and I said they would increase their lead in the Senate. They did. The Senate, you have to keep. That is really important. Very important. You need 2/3 to remove the president. They might impeach Trump again. The impeachment only helped Trump, so it's actually, if you look at it, it's actually a good thing. Plus you get AOC, plus you get Democrats don't seem to realize that the House of Representatives is a negative for them. Owning the House proves that they would never in a million years pass anything Bernie Sanders. They would never in a million years pass anything Bernie Sanders stands for. The Green New Deal resolution, when Mitch McConnell forced them to vote in. When Mitch McConnell forced them to vote on the Green New Deal resolution, John, hello. AM PM 13. That's what he said. The AM PM 13. But yeah, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you I will be right, and it'll be the biggest political call of all time. It'll be the biggest political call of all time. The biggest political call of all time. And the Senate is actually really important in 2020 because you want to be able to get the Supreme Court, to keep the Supreme Court conservative. I want a conservative Supreme Court, especially with the hysteria of the Democratic Party on everything to do with the First and the Second Amendment, and on just the fact that they would tear apart your rights as an individual and link you owning something to a tragedy. I'm not going to get into it in the live stream, but you own something, therefore that tragedy happened because you own it. Same so if you own a car, somebody someplace drove a car into, God forbid, and therefore it's your fault. That mentality, and notice, by the way, it also goes, they used to be the party of free speech. Well, not really. You had Tipper Gore going up against Frank Zappa in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. But they used to be, or at least the ACLU used to be focused on individual rights. Now it's you say something and my God Almighty, you could lose your livelihood, and it's like you're canceled. You're canceled from society. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Greatly appreciated, Joe. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Very, very, very kind of you. Thank you, Joe, for the kind words. Free Aussie J! Hillary and Pelosi privately own a third of your political infrastructure. It should be change laws to hold parties accountable. You know, the issue, Free Assange LCJ, is the issue is who holds the keys to election funding. So when Beto O'Rourke, no, I'm sorry, when Andrew Gillum, the progressive in Florida, was running, and when Bob Menendez, the establishment Democrat in the establishment Democrat in New Jersey, was running, who did they go to for funding? They went to Clinton's fundraisers. Madam Secretary and Bubba Bill, we work hard for my money, so hard for it, honey. They work hard for their money. Sparky, Paul Ryan's globalist crony. Exactly. For Assange LCJ, when it comes to if you are running for office in the Democratic Party and you have no money, you rely on the Democratic National Committee. If the Democratic National Committee has no money, then you rely on Hillary Clinton. Because Clinton actually talked about how they were bankrupt and she had to bail them out. Meanwhile, she talked about this. So the political party is beholden to one person here. Clinton, DNC bankrupt. So inside Hillary Clinton's takeover of the DNC, Clinton had an additional signed agreement. Bailout gave Clinton right to take over Democratic National Committee. So here's the issue. That's the issue. This is by Willie Brown, the San Francisco mayor, and very, very important in the Democratic Party. The issue is that they were bailed out by the Clintons. Okay, and they were beholden because the bank of Madam Secretary, they asked her. Brazil found DNC deep in debt from President Obama. So Brazil says Obama left DNC in deep in debt. Clinton camp controlled party finances before 2016 primary. So there you go. They bailed out the Democratic National Committee. They run the show. It's not that difficult to see what was going on. It's not like people, what is their brand? Why would people give to the Democratic Party? Why would people give to the Democratic Party? What do they stand for? Okay, if you have $26 million and you are, okay, President Trump has over $220 million. Actually, $240 million. And we haven't even got, it's only April. It's only April. What do you think Biden's going to do with $26 million? Maybe he's just a placeholder. Of course he is. They cannot even get the popular vote. The only reason they got the popular vote is because they outspent Trump 2-1. They outspent President Trump 2-1. So, it's kind of interesting when, and Free Assange LCJ, yes, it's a racket. You're right. But the issue is that when you control the party's finances, When you control the party's finances, you run the narrative, the pledged delegates are not legally bound. They do not have to vote for Biden. Furthermore, it takes a week of media coverage in the New York Times or Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN. You have pundits and writers simply saying we need Clinton. Once those articles come out, the groupthink shifts immediately to assume that Democrats and the average Democratic voter wouldn't shift their viewpoint immediately from Biden to Clinton is to ignore reality. The reality is that they don't care about the candidate. And the candidate that actually ends up being the nominee is the candidate they'll vote for. They're not going to not vote for. Believe me, if anything, there are more Never Biden voters than there are Clinton. You know those Never Biden people on the left that they pride themselves. Oh, I'm taking a big stand. Well, what happened to me on the left when I took a stand? Oh my God, the hit pieces people were. Oh my God. Now Never Biden is very popular. We'll see how many of those pundits on the progressive pundits on the left. We'll see how many progressives, whatever that word means. We'll see whatever that word means. We'll see how many of the Never Biden progressives become Never Clinton. Because it won't be fashionable. It won't be fashionable to vote against the first possible female president on the centennial of the 19th Amendment. You better believe it won't be possible. So, you know, the interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, is the following. They're not going to. It will the CG3 SSF. It will be the MC Breed election. Ain't no future in your frontin'. Ain't no future in your frontin'. And he also had a great song, MC Breed, one of the great rappers. I gotta get mine before you gotta get yours. Okay, so MC Breed. Gotta get mine. So that's a great song. It's with Tupac. How many like duos? How many times did Tupac like do a song with another rapper? Not many. I don't think many. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think many. So MC Breed was pretty amazing. And it was a really good song too. Got to get mine. That's another Democratic Party. That's another Democratic Party. That's another Democratic Party. Democratic Party anthem. They got to get theirs. Oh, they're going to get theirs. They're going to try every possible way. They're going to try every possible way, ladies and gentlemen. Every single possible way. Okay? When you look, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at people, they're going to say, oh my God, it's absurd. People, look at Napoleon. The guy was sent to one island. He's like, nah, I'm going to get out of here. then he lost finally, and they sent to another island. What was Elba, the island of Elba, the last one or the second? I forgot which one. I think Elba was the last island that he was sent to finally. He had a nice island all to himself, all the amenities, internet access, DirecTV, tennis court, everything that you could ever want. And then he escaped. And they jailed him again on another island. This time they're like, nah, we're not taking chances. So you can look throughout history. People with unbridled ambition do not stop. This is why I will make the biggest political call of all time. People who have unbridled ambition do not stop. They keep going until they're forced to stop. They don't just simply say, gosh, I think that, I think I'll just stop running for president because a whole lot of people would think it's really bizarre that if I would run again. Yeah, I'm going to just support Biden and his never-ending quest to confuse people. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, we're corrupt intelligence chiefs. We're going to support Biden, knowing that he cannot save us from impending indictments. That makes a lot of sense. Well, we're the Democratic Party. We're going to support Biden, knowing that we wouldn't even get the popular vote, and Trump would have a mandate for every Supreme Court justice from here on out. Yeah. Not going to happen. 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 So, St. Helena. Island of St. Helena. That was after Island of Elba in 1814. And then after Waterloo, he was sent to St. Helena. So, and that did not have internet access. That was not a fun time. But and then when Napoleon wrote, I actually, Napoleon is a really interesting political figure. Megalomaniacal, but he wrote right before he wrote something to the effect like, "Oh, well, it wasn't my fault, and people brought this upon me, and da 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 da. They forced me to engage in the military conquest." But Napoleon, he did usher in a new era in Europe that was a bit more equitable than the past. But anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the great leaders of world history: Napoleon, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Madam Secretary. Of course, the previous leaders weren't as charming and amiable as Madam Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, to my super chat, thank you so very, very much. Give me your thoughts below, ladies and gentlemen. I will be back. I might be back at around 11 p.m. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to my super chat. Thank you very much. And Hillary Clinton is going to be nominee. It will be the biggest political call. You just watch, ladies and gentlemen, and you watch the people who said, "Oh, I knew she'd be nominee." Nobody is saying that she's going to be nominee. Only I am. So just If when people say, "Oh yeah," just say, "No, only H.A. Goodman. That's it. That's the only person since 2017 nominee, not just running." Steve Bannon said, "Oh yeah, she'll run." He never said nominee, and that was just recently. Anyway, give me your thoughts below, everyone. Thank you to my super chat. I should be back at around 11 p.m. About an hour and a half. So be here on this channel in about an hour and a half. Thanks, everybody. Great live stream. Thank you, everybody.